Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
Super. Good. Inglewood. Purple rain falling down on the prince of the coast where the sun shine all year round. Purple haze over landscape, still I hydrate in the lunch line. With the smog and clouds, wood, start me out. This song's in the key of life, and love is in need of more. Young from Inglewood, barefoot on the cedar floor. If black music is the blood, then my heart has been beating more. Rapidly, happily, I look back on a Phoenix Shakur. Her son paved the way, now all eyes on me. Cause I'm young, black, and gifted, Nina, all eyes gon' see. If you swung back when faced with a challenge that's meant to break you and balance scales, you ain't average, now throw your hands on three. Gon' put them up for black magic.
Black excellence, black habits, this black medicine, everything
black chucks, everything.
Everything
black hug, black love, everything.
KBLA Talk 1580. Time for Freedman Friday, our comprehensive reparations conversation. All comers welcome, all philosophies, points of views, states of the union and states of mind, as we put it all on the line. As Billy and Godson would say, reparations over everything. So it's time for that conversation, and bringing in a new voice here that we haven't had a chance to talk to before. He's the author of a book called Black State of America, Black Reparations, Civil Rights 2.0, as well as founder of funditsocially.com, which is a black founded and focused social media monetize program. Gray King, a.k.a. Black State. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm blessed. How are you?
Same. It's chilly where I'm at, but blessed as well.
Chilly everywhere. So you say that the premise of your activism in this space is to finish the work of and the promises, to fulfill the promises, the debt, the work that was supposed to happen in 1865. Explain what you mean by that.
Yes. So many folks are familiar with General Sherman's Special Field Order 15, which was a conversation between himself and 20 leaders in the community. They just happened to be mainly reverends, black reverends in the community, because much of our advocacy in our ancestral history was through the church. And so these 20 pastors came together and they were asked questions, and they responded in kind to the questions. And essentially what they wanted after the Civil War and the years of suffering, they wanted separation. They wanted self-governance. They wanted land, and they really wanted a chance to be free from the dominion of the white race. And that's essentially what they espoused to General Sherman. And so they came up with this plan to parcel out land. But that's only one thing. Special Field Order 15 is only one. There were also circulars that came after that, which essentially were going to parcel out property and land in most of the Confederate states. It wasn't just this 300-mile, very close to the border from Georgia to Florida. It actually was going to be taking Confederate land and property and wealth and handing it over to our ancestors during that time period. From there, you get multiple people successively after that who had advocated to the federal government for instance, the state of Oklahoma to become a black state, a black colony. There was a letter written to Woodrow Wilson where they espoused the colony of New Liberia, which is the name they used because of the reference to Liberia in Africa. And essentially they wanted Oklahoma to become that. There have been other successive movements since that time, all the way up until Malcolm X and the Republic of New Africa, which Malcolm X was an inspiration for and a part of the formation of that. And then those brothers, after his untimely assassination, started the process of trying to get our people to move to the southeastern United States. But there are a lot of different people throughout time who have essentially said, in order for us to gain power in this country, we need the power of the state. And many have done it in a way where they say, well, we want to be completely independent. The problem with that is the Constitution is not really set up for that. But the Constitution is already set up for us to become the majority population and control the power of the state, which is a power that is a global power. It is a power that is equal to the federal government in the construction of the U.S. Constitution. The federal government sits on one side of the Constitution, state governments sit on another side of the U.S. Constitution, but they're both governed under that U.S. Constitution, not necessarily under the federal government. And many of our people in this country, because of programming and election cycles and this idea that the president is king of the country, have been taught to believe that the federal government controls everything, when in fact it's the governor of your state that has way more power to manage resources and to implement justice.
Right. Let's circle back on a couple things you said, and luckily we have a whole hour, so we got time to go through your various points. Actually, my own father used to advocate that, the late Mary Baraka. We talk about an African American nation in the Black Belt South, is what he used to say. But to your point, beautiful. I think absolutely was a reparationist since, probably the 1960s. But to your point, you're saying, well, the Constitution isn't set up for that. I also think about infrastructure. You know what I mean? When somebody can cut off your water, your power grid or whatever, how truly independent and standalone could a black state inside the United States actually be?
That's it's interesting because everybody goes to the water. That's the first question.
I mean, I think about Gaza, right? Water, electricity, the flow of supplies, because Palestine is supposedly a country, but Israel controls everything, their borders, their water, their power, their food. So I don't see how a black state in the middle of this historically racist nation would be able to thrive. And we've seen that, Allenstown and other black enclaves that have been choked out by infrastructure.
Agreed. And so let's look at it this way, because the citizens of Palestine, they are fighting for state recognition because they are not, in fact, a state. They do not, in fact, have state authority.
Sovereignty.
Exactly, sovereignty. And while the U.S. is a very unique system, the reason they want a two-party system or a two-state system is so that they actually have their own autonomy, they have their own authority, they can develop a military, and they can have access to funds, global funding and et cetera. And so while the idea of and I don't want to use the word black state because that's not accurate to the way that you kind of laid it out there, because if you're talking about secession, that's you're essentially becoming a foreign nation, right?
Right, in the middle of in the middle of the most powerful military in the world.
Exactly.
Surrounded.
And you open up, and as a foreign nation, you become Haiti. You essentially open yourself up to the full weight and power of the federal government, because most of the federal power was initially created to protect the states from foreign entities. So that's where the federal government has really all of its power is in dealing with foreign entities. So if you separate yourself from the U.S. as a seceding black nation, like Palestine or like Haiti again, then you are under the weight of the U.S. government. But remaining a U.S. state doesn't mean you're seceding. It just simply means you need the majority of the population. We calculate that to be 60+%, where you can vote your way into power. You can vote in a majority of state legislators in the House and Assembly and Senate, and you can vote in the executive branch, the governors, the state attorney general, et cetera. And so that way you control the state through the power of the vote and as a black majority within that state, but you remain a member of the Union of 50 states. And the reason is, number one, the Constitution protects these states. The Constitution protects you in that way from federal intervention, unless you're doing something unconstitutional. That is, a lot of people talk about the Supremacy Clause. Well, the Supremacy Clause is limited in its scope in that there has to be something unconstitutional occurring for the federal government to intervene within a state, which is why you don't see a lot of federal intervention within states, even when they're doing something unconstitutional to our people, because the reality is whether it's Democrat or Republican, they really don't care about what happens to our population. And what we're saying is, like your father, it's time for us to take full responsibility of our existence. It's time for us to take full power over our own situation. And the best way we can do that is we get to city, county, state power. That gives us federal power. And then that gives us global power, because states are able to go out and negotiate trade agreements, trade arrangements through the power of the federal government in conjunction with the State Department, so that we can bring resources back to our states. This is essentially how the country operates. The problem is we have been minoritized. We have been permanently minoritized, intentionally scattered through a domestic terror campaign out of the South, because the Confederate Southerners saw in South Carolina, in Louisiana, that we were able to rise to power. We had a black majority in South Carolina. They implemented a lot of beneficial policy. The Department of Education, essentially the structure of the education in this country, came out of South Carolina. And they knew that if we remained the majority population, that we would rise. And for some strange reason, they believed that they would fall. Although that's not necessarily the case, because we are the most equitable people on the planet Earth.
Absolutely.
We are the fairest people on the planet Earth. We just need to be in a position where we can be fully responsible and we can protect our people.
Okay, we're talking with Gray King, a.k.a. Black State, and we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to connect the dots here with what you're saying about black people having power at the state, county, city level in at least one or more of our 50 states, and connect the dots to reparations when we come forward. It's a Freedman Friday on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Somebody bring out the confetti, baby!
Starting Monday, January 6th, KBLA Talk 1580 has a new midday lineup.
I'm excited!
Are you ready for Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, and E. Quarterly Corte back-to-back?
Oh my God!
Are you really ready for all this smoke?
I'm ready, brother.
Yes, we still have Dominique DiPrima in the mornings and Zoe Williams in the evenings, but middays just got lit on KBLA Talk 1580.
We on fire.
All across America, people are talking about our new midday lineup. Starting Monday, January 6th, our KBLA 1580 app downloads are on fire because everybody's going to be tuning in.
Yes, I love you guys. You are the bomb.
Now would be a good time to hit up SMB at KBLA1580.com if you want folks to hear about your business or brand. That's SMB at KBLA1580.com. It's going up in 2025 on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's going up.
That's what I want.
The revolution will not be televised.
This is Brother Cornell West. My dear brothers and sisters, I'm full of joy and delight to announce that I'm joining the precious family at KBLA Talk 1580, founded and led by my dear brother Tavis Smiley himself. Yes, the name of the show is Truth Time, and I'll be working with the inimitable Nina Turner out of Cleveland, Ohio, sister of great vision, and we will be on weekdays at 12 noon. We will be following Brother Tavis Smiley's show. We will begin Monday, January the 6th. That's right, Monday, January the 6th. Get ready for a different kind of insurrection. We coming with Martin Luther King Jr. and Fannie Lou Hamer and Curtis Mayfield and Aretha Franklin, and gonna add a little Gil Scott Heron too, as Nina Simone sits at the center. That's right.
The revolution will be live.
That's what we gonna do. Please come with us on this fantastic voyage.
The revolution will put you in the driver's seat.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
You've got a Pepto predicament, Festive Feaster.
Who wants another slice of Grammy's famous pumpkin pie?
I do not. I think I need to lay down for a minute.
You overdid it on all the family favorites, and now your stomach's throwing a Yuletide tantrum. Undo it with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Pepto-Chewables provide fast 5-symptom relief, so you can get back to the feast and the festivities.
Who's ready for some games?
When you overdo it, undo it with Pepto. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
We're talking with Black State. He's commonly, popularly known. Greg King is his name. And he's been laying out his vision for reparations or Black Power. Black State of America is the book. Black Reparations, Civil Rights 2.0. So you've been talking about the structure of our government, the power of the state versus the federal government, and your formula for creating enclaves or outposts of actual Black power within the framework of the U.S. government by taking over states, and at least 61%, you said. To connect the dots to reparations.
Okay, so when I wrote that book roughly 6 years ago, the first time I spent a lot of time online, and I was seeing reparations talked about a lot. Prior to that, I rarely spent any time online. So I'm a solution-oriented thinker, an entrepreneur by nature, and so I essentially said, well, let me figure out a way to solve that problem, because I just saw it over and over and over again, and it was something that was very new to me, to be very, very honest about it. And so the book was the solution that I feel is the most efficient pathway forward, because in this country, again, we're talking about the way the system is structured, Black Americans have been operating from a position of protest and reaching out to people who are in elected position and asking them to do something for us.
Yeah. Well,
and that's been our relationship.
Okay, but we'll pivot to the state of California here, where we don't have, what state are you in?
I'm in Pennsylvania currently.
Pennsylvania, okay. Well, here, we don't have a Black majority by any stretch of the imagination, but we do have a congressional Black caucus. We had a number of reparations bills, and including 3 that were pretty important. And the actual Black lawmakers here chose not to bring those to the floor, even though they had the votes to pass them, because of political infighting because some may have been protecting our white governor who has presidential aspirations. So even that 60%, and we've seen, black electeds kind of get into, not all, but some, get into this groove of self-aggrandizement and enrichment over the greater good. So how do you guarantee that 61% leadership actually leads to real progress in reparations?
I'm actually glad you brought that up because I'm not a resident of California, so it's really not, my position to talk about California in the way that I have to talk about it now. So in California, you have an exodus occurring, and it's been happening for a while. But you also have a situation where because
be specific, because that is actually a Republican talking point that for the most part doesn't turn out to be true. Although you do see businesses running, like some businesses like Elon Musk and such. But what we see here with black folks is a scattering, like what you described, right, to suburbs and stuff. So there's not a consolidation like we used to have in certain areas. But we're not leaving the state. We're going out to cheaper suburbs.
Understood. And much of my postings are on the X app, which is formerly known as Twitter, and it would take me some time to go through to find that information. But right. I could send it to you, and we can talk about it. But the greater point that I wanted to make was this: because the black and not knowing if they're of the lineage, but because of the melanated representation in California, that their districts are not majority black districts. That is a fact. And so what ends up happening is they get into office, but the people who are their constituents, the people that they are beholden to, do not actually represent the black majority or the black minority, even in the state of California. And this is the problem with being minoritized all across the country. None of the congressional black, even at the federal level, none of their districts are authentically majority black districts, and that's done by design. That's done intentional, because there are two numbers when you look at a district. There are the raw population numbers, where in which they can say this district is 55% black or this district is 52% black. But when you actually look at the actual voter numbers, the people who are actually eligible to vote, what ends up happening is that it becomes a plurality district, which means that blacks are no longer the majority voters in that district.
Yeah, no, I mean I think that is true, and it does present a lot of challenges. However, in this particular case, they had the votes, not just the black people, like they had white people in the state legislative bodies that were ready to pass these bills, and they just failed to bring it to the floor. But, I mean, your point is taken. If you had 61%, I guess, not just with the lawmakers, but the populations of their districts is what you're talking about.
Well, because I think the woman's name is Bonta, if I remember correctly.
Mia Bonta, yeah, assembly member. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when you look at her district, if you look at her, the demographics of her district,
she's not black.
I understand she's not black.
Got it.
I understand that, but you could name any person who is black, as we understand it to be Black American from the lineage, and you look at all of their districts, and you're not going to find a situation where they have a majority.
No, I understand that. So what I'm saying is that your proposal is for the districts, for the population of the state to become 61% black, and the lawmakers, not just the lawmakers, so that the lawmakers would have so they wouldn't be playing shucking and jiving
and held accountable to their majority district. That's actually the key to it all. This is literally the reason why a person can be a Black American, they could be of the lineage, and they can get elected through all these special interest groups. They essentially mule their complexion and their connection to our population. They get into power, but they're not held responsible to the people in the community and within the districts because it's not an authentically majority black district. Because they can, and this is the letter that the Congressional Caucus put out at the federal level. They said we represent, I think the number is somewhere around 81 million people, of which 17 million are black Americans. Now, if you have that kind of disparity, 60 million
You're talking about the
plus
Congressional Black
that are
Caucus?
not, yes.
Okay.
Yes, but
right.
but that is a macrocosm of what's happening in these much smaller areas. It's the same symptom that causes the problem, because these people in office feel as though, well, look, you're not actually electing me. These other people are. These other special interest groups, or whatever they may be, they are the ones who are actually keeping me in power. So I don't really have to give you anything. I don't have to go to the state assembly house at the last hour and vote for you, even though the advocates are in the house trying to get in and trying to make it very clear that they want this thing to pass. I don't actually have to do that because I'm safe in my district. I'm going to get reelected. If I give you this, now that's when the challenge comes in. If I give you what you're asking for, will I get reelected? And the likelihood is that the people who actually get them into power have made the decision that it's not going to be beneficial to them. They're not going to get reelected. And so how do you organize around that? Because we are in a scattered position no matter where we're at in the country, except for the Southeast.
Hold that thought. We got a hard stop here for news, traffic, and sports, and then we will continue with Black State on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Crystal Mangum, who accused 3 Duke lacrosse players of rape in 2006, now admits she made up the whole story. Governor Roy Cooper dismissed the charges at the time due to lack of evidence. Mangum is currently in prison for second-degree murder. Over 230,000 bottles of antidepressant duloxetine are being recalled due to the presence of a cancerous chemical, nitrosamine. The FDA classified it as a Class 2 risk, indicating possible temporary or reversible health effects. President-elect Trump is Time Magazine's Person of the Year for his, quote, comeback of historic proportions. Finalists included Vice President Harris, Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, and Benjamin Netanyahu. And BuzzFeed is selling the studio behind the popular Hot Ones show to a group of investors, including host Sean Evans, for $82.5 million. The show features celebrities eating increasingly spicy wings. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Want to save up to 50% on new blinds and shades? Blindstar offers custom-made blinds, shades, and shutters at prices way less than big box retailers. And right now, save up to 50% off any order during Blindstar's July 4th sale. Hurry, sale ends July 8th. Blindstar.com.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams are acting like they want to be in the playoffs. They scored no touchdowns last night at San Francisco, but they pulled out an impressive win. 4 field goals by Joshua Carter and a strong performance by the defense led to a 12-6 win over the 49ers. The Rams are 8-6, a half a game behind Seattle in the NFC West. They have turned their season around after a 1-4 start. 3 games left on the Rams schedule in the race for the NFC West title at the New York Jets and home against Arizona and Seattle. Bronny James dropped a career-high 30 points last night in his first G League road game with the South Bay Lakers. South Bay lost to the Valley Suns 106-100. South Bay plays the Valley Suns again tonight in Tempe, Arizona. The Lakers and Clippers are back in action tonight. The Lakers are at Minnesota. LeBron did not make the trip. He's got a sore left foot. The Clippers are at Denver. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Tips to help improve basic steps for building a budget in 2024. Building a budget can help you achieve and reach your financial goals. With a budget, you can keep track of your spending, avoid and get out of debt, limit overspending, pay bills on time, and build solid savings habits. What's the best way to get started? Figure out how much to set aside for expenses, like rent, mortgage, bills, groceries, and entertainment. Understanding your past financial habits can help you make the proper adjustments for your budget. Adjusting to a budget can take time as you work to find the right balance, but keep working on it. For more financial health tips, visit chase.com or stop by a local branch. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SNAP to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
You've got a Pepto predicament, festive feaster.
Who wants another slice of Grammy's famous pumpkin pie?
I do not. I think I need to lay down for a minute.
You overdid it on all the family favorites, and now your stomach's throwing a Yuletide tantrum. Undo it with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Pepto-Chewables provide fast 5-symptom relief, so you can get back to the feast and the festivities.
Who's ready for some games?
When you overdo it, undo it with Pepto. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
On a Freedman Friday, we're talking with Gray King, also known as Black State. He is a reparationist. He's got a book on it. He's active on socials now, and also has a fundraising site. Before we continue your thoughts on creating progress, I guess, toward reparation through building political power. Fund it socially. I don't want to forget to talk about that and how you think that site, this Black crowdfunding site, would play a role in this effort.
Thank you for that. So the platform, fundedsocially.com, is like most social media platforms. You join, you get a membership, you like, share posts, comment. We have the ability to do 2-hour lives directly on the platform. We can embed YouTube links and other links that are available. And so it operates more like a social media platform. However, my plan in the book is I talk about it. I've been talking about it on social media for at least 4 or 5 years, is to move to one of the states that we have identified where, with roughly 200,000 voters, we would become this 60% majority in terms of controlling the entire state. But in that state, because it's such a small state, where elected officials are winning with 3,000 votes, in some races 2,000 votes, and the margin between winner and loser is sometimes just a few hundred votes. We don't necessarily need 200,000 people to move in to start winning elections. We simply have to organize the people that are there, get everybody on the same page, and then start running the candidates that represent the Black American lineage community, and will be held accountable and beholden to our community, where money can't penetrate a very tight-knit, organized political advocacy and organization. So that's what the Funded Socially, the part of it that I want to utilize it for, is to be able to organize people in the community. They could have a central place of an online place to meet and discuss things, and then run mock elections, because I think that's very important for candidates to know how many votes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Know how many votes they need to win based on the past 3 or 4 election cycles, and then to keep their voters engaged on a monthly basis. So when the election comes around, you're not necessarily blindsided by, and I'll give an example. There was a race for mayor in the largest city in this state, where the former city treasurer and former state treasurer, a Black woman, was running for mayor of the largest city in this state. And then the governor, who turned out by his political party, was told to come down and challenge her. She essentially had a clear path to become the mayor of the city, but this political party decided to send the governor down to challenge her, and the governor ended up winning that race by less than 1,000 votes.
Wow.
And that is insane. I've never even heard of anything like that.
Yeah.
But this is what these parties do to keep us from power.
Well, a couple things I wanted to point out as far as the platform goes. I thought it was really interesting that GoFundMe announced, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that they were taking down any funding drives for the man who shot the healthcare CEO. The suspect, I should say, because, right, we don't know, but this Luigi guy, they blocked every single fundraising attempt for him, but they have no problem raising $3 million for Daniel Penny, who murdered a Black man on a subway car in New York. So that just reminded me, wow, how important it is who controls those fundraising sites.
No, I agree. And from that aspect, the way that we operate through a subscription model, and so the way we would set up a fundraising campaign, or again a political fundraising campaign, or set up an online business through subscription model. So it's all through subscription model. So if someone had a campaign that they wanted to run, they would we can do monthly and we can do annually currently, or we can do like a one-time video fundraising event. So if someone said, well, I'm going to be live on Funded Socially, they put up a ticket of, let's say, $5, and they try to get people to come to support that event. And then what we do is we take a very small percentage of it, and then they get the bulk of it. And there's processing fees, which we have nothing to do that because we don't process the transactions. I think that's run by one of the largest global processors. And so we make it very fair, and we are very Black American focused and centered. So we want our people to come on the platform and develop subscription models for political campaigns, for issues that they may face, like they lost their home or they lost their job or things of that nature, as well as content creators who want to develop subscription models, and entrepreneurs who sell different things like candles, et cetera, to set up like a monthly subscription package through the website.
Got it. Okay, so you mentioned the states that you're targeting to build this Black power, this Black American majority. What are those states?
Yeah, so I'll give you the top three, because these are the three that, I just hit 50. And I believe within a very short period of time, it's all based on election cycles, that these three states can happen simultaneously and within a very short period of time. The first one is Delaware, and that's the state that I mentioned, that with 200,000 voters, we would have a majority, because the Democrat and Republicans split their vote in whatever, calculation that is. And in this state, unfortunately, they have very low voter turnout. And based on the primaries, we would win. We would win every single primary based on voter, habits.
That would be ironic. Biden's home state. Uh-huh.
Definitely Biden's home state. But also mentioning that, the Biden dynasty in Delaware is over. When January 20th occurs and power's transferred, that dynasty is gone.
Yeah.
There is no.
Well, that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Yeah.
I just want to get through your reparations stuff, and the hours just zoom by. But yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. I mean,
So
I don't see
Mississippi's
Hunter
number 2.
running, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Mississippi number 2. It's a state where, in the most recent governor's race, you had a Black man who actually ran for Senate this time, but he ran for state attorney general, I believe. He was just 150 to maybe 200,000 votes short of winning a statewide elected office in Mississippi. And once a Black American can win a statewide election, that means they can be the governor. They can win the governorship. So
Right.
We're very close in Mississippi. And Arkansas, another state where a Black American, I believe a former NASA guy, also ran for governor, and he was short by 400,000 votes roughly.
Wow.
And that was against the Huckabees, and then they have a dynasty
They have
going there. So
massive dynasty. Just as a sidebar note, while you're supporting Black governors, my brother is running for governor of Newark, New Jersey right now. So Black Americans that are interested in supporting the quest for Black governorships, take note.
Now, so is this okay? So let me ask you: Is he the Baraka guy?
Raz Baraka, yeah, my brother.
Okay, so your father's the one who wrote A Nation Within a Nation.
Pretty much.
Okay, all right, cool. Because I heard you say that, but I wasn't sure if you were talking about the same.
Yeah, you
same
said the
individual.
Baraka guy. That's funny. His name is Raz Baraka. He's my brother. He's currently the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, and he's currently running for governor and polling quite well there. Although I don't,
Gotcha.
They call New Jersey up south, so we're far from a majority in that state. It's a very
Right.
It's not a very Black state, but yeah.
Right.
So, okay, interesting. We'll continue this conversation. How does that happen? And how does that finish the unfinished business of 1865? Talking with Greg King, a.k.a. Black State. Also, I'm interested in what you're reading, what as a reparationist, what you're reading, what you would put other people onto. Because you have an sort of an interesting brain, Mr. King. Listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. The Equinox EV and all-new Equinox, America's best compact SUV for new vehicle quality by J.D. Power, offer both confidence and style to see you through the holiday season. It's easy to see why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Award based on 2024 models. For J.D. Power 2024 U.S. Initial Quality Study award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $2,778 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 26.8%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Taking new retail delivery by 1/2/25.
The holidays can be a time of increased stress for those struggling with opioid or stimulant addiction. They can also be a time for pause, reflection, opportunity, and new beginnings. This holiday season, choose treatment and recovery, embrace the company of family and friends, and create special moments. Find a proven opioid or stimulant addiction treatment provider near you at choosechangeca.org.
I don't even know where to start with health insurance. Do I just, call a hospital and ask them?
Look up Covered California. That's their whole deal, making it easier to get and pay for health insurance.
Okay, but can I afford it?
Yes. They work with a bunch of health insurance companies. I pay something like $10 a month, and it's actually really good coverage.
Wait, what? How did I not know this?
You just needed to know who to ask.
If you've got questions, Covered California can help every step of the way. Enroll by December 31st. Covered California. This way to health insurance.
Here's another great reason to use the United States Postal Service this season. Your boxes are wrapped and the gifts are in. Our employees are ready. Let the holiday ride begin. Let's start with the price. It's easy to manage when you ship with the reliable USPS Ground Advantage. In just a few days, it's sure to arrive. We're working nonstop to keep the spirit alive. USPS Ground Advantage, the affordable and reliable shipping solution for the holidays. Visit USPS.com/advantage.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
We're talking with Gray King, a.k.a. Black State, on a Freedman Friday. To be clear, my dad wrote, "It's Nation Time." Nation Within a Nation was written about my father. I just want a point of clarity there. Yeah. But anyway, so again, take us from, let's say, how do we get to this point? You said people move, Black Americans move to states like Delaware or Mississippi or Arkansas. We get this majority of population. Then out of that comes a majority of Black lawmakers, a real majority, which I think is a great point. How does that finish the work of 1865 in the so-called Reconstruction?
In terms of reparations, or in terms of us being in a self-governed and self-determined?
Well, I mean, this show is on reparations, but certainly reparations means a lot of things, and building power is one of them.
Right. So, so the state. Let's just start from the state. The state determines almost everything within its jurisdiction. So the state has the largest budget, obviously, within its jurisdiction. It controls the laws. It controls the way laws are implemented and enforced and written, and it controls the way resources are distributed and dispersed throughout the state. And I like to use Mississippi because it really highlights, but you can use Alabama, you can use all these southeastern states, but you have the city of Jackson, which is 80+% Black American. It's in Hinds County, which is also a majority Black county. They have a majority Black government and sheriff, etc. But because the state, which is literally located in the general area of Jackson, controls the flow of the money, they are able to oppress the city of Jackson, Mississippi.
Right, they were famously trying to take over policing and all kinds of things, move it to the state.
The airport, I think, is the most recent thing that they're trying to take away from
So basically trying
water.
to colonize the city of Jackson.
Absolutely, because we have the process of gentrification, which is always on the board, eminent domain, like all of these powers that the state has wielded against our population. We have always, and this is from the beginning of the country, even pre-America, because it was colonies that oppressed us, and then it became states that oppressed us. We really have not been oppressed from the federal level. It's always been the states that have been oppressing our people. And so we've looked to the federal government to intervene between the state and our population, when in fact, if we just simply take the state authority, then we can employ our people, we can change the education system, the education curriculum, we can get access from pre-K all the way to a bachelor degree level of education or skilled trades. We can develop contracting and a system of contracting with high schoolers and people who go into trades or into college, so that they get the funding, they get the grants, they develop new technologies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They get the contracts to build the roads and the tunnels and the houses and the pipes and everything that happens within that state. This is really how America works. And so if Black Americans truly want to take our power back and be full United States citizens, to be very clear, it requires us to get state authority, because until we get state authority, we are not, in fact, full U.S. citizens, the way I see it.
Get state authority, and then you can, whether if you're talking about cash reparations or land or whatever, you can deal with that at the state level. It still doesn't deal with it at the federal level, but you're saying that is not necessarily significant, or that's a goal that you build to, or how do you see that dynamic?
Well, so we have never controlled the largest pool of wealth that we have in this country, and that's our tax base. Our tax base, our collective tax base, has a value that if you calculate it out 100 years and you added interest, it would be quadrillions of dollars. And so, but because we don't control our tax base, we are giving that away. We are giving it away to people who have no concern for us. So in my opinion, simply controlling our own tax base would give us enormous value. But at the state level, because the federal funds come down to the state and the state disperses it, now you control that flow. You have a direct relationship to the federal government. You have representatives who are in the federal government who can then put up legislation for reparations at the federal level. And you can obstruct if necessary. You can negotiate when necessary, but you can bring that bill to the floor in both houses of both chambers, because you'll have two senators, you'll have whatever number of representative U.S. reps to bring forth this legislation. You can say, well, look, our state, we have this amount of electoral college votes. If you want the presidency of the United States, reparations must be a platform, it must be a priority, and it must be day one. This is a different relationship. This is a different way to operate within this country.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. Kind of up against the clock here, believe it or not. I want to say you can find him at GRYKNGBLAK State on X. And also fund it socially. Gray King, also known as Black State. So it's worth noting that we've had very few Black governors in this country's history. I think it's 2, right?
It's 4 or 5. There were 2 in Louisiana during Reconstruction.
Oh, okay,
but
yeah. Go. Okay, yeah. I'm thinking modern history. Good point.
Yeah. Modern history, you're probably at 3 or 4.
Yeah. Okay, that's better than I thought. But
because you have Western Maryland, you have the Virginia governor, you had a governor in Massachusetts, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you had the New York governor who came in. He succeeded the guy that they got rid of. I can't remember his name, but I think Patterson was his name. In New York.
Okay.
He was partially visually impaired, but yeah, he was the governor there.
Okay. Well, yeah. as of 2022, it says there were only 3 ever elected, but I guess you're talking appointments too. The point is that it's very rare. There's never been a black woman. So it kind of speaks to your point about the way that we've been sort of pushed out or excluded from that wielding that level of executive power on the state level.
Absolutely, because the governor is the president of the state. If we start thinking of it in that term, the governor is the president of the state, then I think that will help us visually understand how important that position is and how important it is to have a majority in both houses, because then you can push you can slide, literally like sliding a piece of paper across the long table. You can simply slide legislation through because the opposition can't obstruct at the state level, because you don't need a supermajority. You only need a simple majority, which is 1 vote beyond 50%. So anything you want to implement, you can do. And Minnesota really showed that when they were able to gain all 3 houses recently and implement an extremely progressive agenda in the state of Minnesota under like the Democratic Farmer Party or whatever it's called, Farmer Labor Party.
Right.
There are a lot of examples of what it looks like when one population like Utah with the Mormons take control over a state and they just are able to get their legislation on through.
Got it. Well, Gray King, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Black State, that is, we just have a couple seconds here. So if you want to restate your socials, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and salute to your father. I know he was a great man. Salute to your audience. I appreciate being on the platform. Gray King, Black State, Black State of America, Black Reparations, Civil Rights 2.0, and fundedsocially.com.
All right. Appreciate the conversation. Comedian Ray Grady joins me next. We're going to turn up for the weekend on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Crystal Class 2 risk, indicating possible temporary or reversible health effects. President-elect Trump is Time Magazine's Person of the Year for his, quote, comeback of his